and welcome to Clay Pigeon Kart Club on the 9th of May 2021. The Formula Blues are on the way to the grid for round 3 of the Blue Challenge, which currently looks like this. Dave Watts leads the way on tiebreak ahead of Stuart Gray. Rich Puddle in third, however none of the top 3 present this event, so that will all change. Anthony Cleal in fourth ahead of Sam Dybel, with Sarita Schoen, Taylor Waldron, Russell O'Neill, Mike Bell and David Waldron making up the top 10. Billy Thomas 11th ahead of Nigel Vickery, the 2 Welshmen, Kevin O'Neill 13th and Rob Mortimer 14th ahead of another Welshman in Ben Joseph running out the top 15. As Billy Thomas number 85 on the Tony Kart. In the Blue Masters standings, it's Stuart Gray that leads the way ahead of 2020 champion Russell O'Neill, just 1 point clear of Billy Thomas in third, with Anthony Cleal and David Waldron making up the top 5. Nigel Vickery, Kevin O'Neill, David Good, Rob Mortimer and Ben Joseph complete the top 10 in the Masters. Number 67 and Nigel Vickery just putting his car on the deck. In the veterans standings, it's Stuart Gray leading the way with David Waldron second this time ahead of Anthony Cleal. Kevin O'Neill in fourth ahead of Nigel Vickery, with David Good, Rob Mortimer, Paul Dybel, Ron Schoen and Paul Alexander completing the top 10. In the Blue Legends Championship, it's Kevin O'Neill leading the way this time ahead of Stuart Gray on drop scores. David Good in third ahead of Ron Schoen, Chris Underhill, Adrian Helps, John Hartshorn and Mark Cook, with Jeff Webster and Mike Watts yet to make their debut this year, and Robin Stones making his first run out. In the blue top weight so far, Billy Thomas has had a perfect season with 0 and a 0. Rob Mortimer in second behind ahead of Ben Joseph, Ron Schoen and Paul Dybel. Heat 1 today was won by Anthony Cleal going up 12 places, with Mike Bell second ahead of Sylvain Vessier, Billy Thomas and Russell O'Neill taking the fastest lap en route to 5th place. Kieran Quirk behind ahead of Ben Joseph, Phil Shears, Chris Underhill and Rob Mortimer making up the top 10. Should be noted that this is the first run out on full plates for both Kieran Quirk and Phil Shears, and they're both doing well in Heat 1. Heat 2 was won by Russell O'Neill once again with the fastest lap from pole position ahead of Billy Thomas, Sylvain Vessier, Mike Bell. Chris Underhill with a good run up into 5th ahead of Nigel Vickery, with Paul Alexander, Phil Shears, David Good and Ron Schoen running at the top 10. And then Vessier putting his car on the deck. Heat 3 was won by Anthony Cleal, going up 8 spots ahead of Sylvain Vessier, with Mike Bell in third ahead of Robin Stones, with Paul Alexander making up top 5. Rob Mortimer in behind ahead of David Good, Billy Thomas, Ron Schoen and Phil Shears would complete the top 10 in Heat 3. Those 3 results will be put together to create the grid for the final, and as you can see, it's number 29, Sylvain Vessier, lining up on pole position once again, second pole in 2 days for him. This time alongside will be Mike Bell by only a point. Row 2 was Billy Thomas and Anthony Cleal, with Russell O'Neill in 5th ahead of Paul Alexander. Phil Shears, Rob Mortimer, Chris Underhill and Nigel Vickery would make up the rest of the top 10. Ahead of David Good, who lost out to Vickery on tiebreak. Ron Schoen 12th ahead of Ben Joseph and Kieran Quirk. Kevin O'Neill making up the top 15 ahead of Robin Stones, David Waldron, Adrian Helps and the only novice racing today, Tom Parker. And that will make an effect. As you can see, several drivers wiping their visors. There is rain falling, and it was falling for about 5 minutes or so before the drivers made their way up onto the grids. The longer they are held, the more chance of rain falling, and the more rain does fall, making grip going to be very scarce and worth a premium. As here we go, as Mike Bell is going to lead us out onto the rolling lap, so I'm Vessier just a bit slow on the uptake there, and all the karts looking A-OK. There's Tom Parker at the back in the green helmet, and all karts out, present and correct. As here we are on board with number 40, Ben Joseph. He's going to be lining up 13th for the final today, having had to start all 3 heats from the back of the grid due to a late entry for this event. So keep an eye out for the Wessex Championship winning driver to make his way up. We are on board with Russell O'Neill, and you can see the water on the camera. So that means rain is continuing to fall. May make things worse as we go. There's not a lot of grip on cold tires to begin with, as Tom Parker getting a bit of a slide through the hairpin, throw it up into the horseshoe. Now we're on board with Ben Joseph. That's Ron Schoen in front to the left, David Good in the blue number 9. Sorry, in the blue suit, should I say. They go up through buttons and into top bend. Now we go. Sylvain Vessier going to back the pack up. Mike Bell alongside, out the top bend. There's the field as they go. Going down past the pit lane. And away we go. Vessier puts his foot down. Looks like Bell's got a better start as we jump on board Paul Alexander. He's in behind Russell O'Neill. That's Phil Shears going by us, and Bell does indeed make a better start than Vessier, but not by enough to cover him into turn 1. They're going side by side, as is about half the grid going into the chicane. Now we're on board with Ben Joseph. He's alongside Ron Schoen, the number 11, and Joseph's going to make the move around the outside through the chicane. But into the hairpin, it's Vesey leading from Bell, Cleal, Thomas, O'Neill, Shears, Mortimer, Alexander, and Vickery. And you can see in the all black, that's Kevin O'Neill sliding wide, so obviously grip is is scarce in the hairpin, as that is Robin Stoddart Stones going through the horseshoe past Ben Joseph, so the number 13 making some hay. Now out at top Ben is Vessier leading from Bell, as the entire grid goes through single file. Not so much anymore, that's Robin Stoddart Stones moving alongside David Good. Ben Joseph's going to close right up as well. Stoddart Stones goes through, Joseph goes through. And Stoddart Stones attacking Chris Underhill, and Underhill's gone around! Joseph's avoided him, but Ron Schoen hasn't, nor is David Waldron. Looks like Tom Parker as well has gone around. As the two Tony carts face the right direction and get off up the road, looks like all four carts involved have gotten going. Stoddart Stones there passing Vickery. Kevin O'Neill now going for a move on David Good. Ron Schoen instantly getting back into the fray, so good to see he's up and running fine. So now we're back up on board with Mike Bell in second place, going around top bend, and he's going to wash out wide. Vessier's going to get away in front, but right behind Bell is Anthony Cleal, and he's not going to need a second invitation to launch an attack. They go down the start straight and into turn one. Billy's blind, through goes Cleal, but Bell's going to get stuck out wide. That's Billy Thomas in the number 85. He's going to go down the inside into the chicane, so Bell down to fourth. Now we're on board with Russell O'Neill, who's getting a better run through the chicane. He's going to move alongside Mike Bell as well into the hairpin. And through goes O'Neill. Bell needs to stop the bleeding now, but Phil Shears is already up alongside. It's on the wrong side for the horseshoe though. Bell should be able, and sure enough does slot back ahead of Phil Shears. But Bell goes from second to fifth on the back of one mistake. Shows you just how tight it is out there in the Formula Blues at the moment. Looks like the top 7 starting to break away. Next 3 in behind, then there's Vickery. That's Adrian Helps already up 6 spots as well, up into 12th, but for the lead it's Vessier from Cleal into Billy's blind once more. Now we're on board with Russell O'Neill. Ben Joseph in front's going to slide through the chicane, and O'Neill's going to go up the Sturmey straight, pull to the right, carbon copy of the move against Mike Bell, down the inside into the hairpin. And that Stoddart Stones going out the inside of Alexander, and Alexander's gone around. Russell O'Neill completes the move on Billy Thomas through the horseshoe. But back at the hairpin, Paul Alexander's facing the wrong way, and he's going to have to wait for a gap in the traffic to get going. Through go Waldron, through go Parker, and back around goes Alexander. Meanwhile, that battle started to pull away, and Anthony Cleal takes the lead. Cleal passes Vessier. So that's a change at the front. There's another change as Adrian Helps passes Nigel Vickery, and then the three-way battle behind between O'Neill, Good and Schoen. They're going to go through on Nigel Vickery as well, so Vickery must have a problem. It's unfortunate for Vickery. Billy Thomas has got a problem as well. He's sliding around all over the place. Mike Bell on the attack now. Here's Waldron going past Vickery, and Tom Parker makes the opportunity to gain 2 spots in 1 through the chicane. Good move from the novice. But back to the front, it's Cleal, Vessier, and Russell O'Neill's closed right back in. O'Neill now moves alongside Vessier, and he's going to pass him on the straight. Russell O'Neill absolutely flying in these conditions, it seems. Up to second, and with Cleal in the lead and not far away at all. Bell ahead of Thomas as well in behind, so positions be a changing. Now we're on board with Rob Mortimer. Through the chicane we go. That's Phil Shears in front of us getting the run out on the exit. And that's Robin Stoddart Stones going for the move on Rob Mortimer through Han Hairpin. Number 13, Rob Mortimer, he started back in 16th spot, and that's Nigel Vickery cruising back into the pit lane, so Vickery will take no further part in this race today alongside Chris Underhill in the pits. Unfortunate for the pair of them, but the racing still goes on, and it's thick and fast for 4th. And that's Phil Shears making a move for 5th on Billy Thomas, and Robin Stoddart Stone's going to follow him through as well. Billy Thomas now struggling for grip, down to 7th. Rob Mortimer next in the queue, these two leading 2 top weights on track at the moment. That's a key battle to keep an eye out on. Top 2 starting to leave Vessier behind a bit. Bell trying to hang on ahead of Shears and Thomas, and Robin Stoddart Stone seems to be really the man on the move at the moment. He's already harassing Phil Shears, as Rob Mortimer already through on Billy Thomas. Meanwhile, the battle for 10th, Adrian Helps hanging on. Robin Stoddart Stone's on the attack. That's Ben Joseph as well. He's caught his countryman and teammate on the wrong side to have a look into Billy's blind now. There's the 2 Welshmen slot in. Meanwhile, back to the battle for 10th is Helps holding off O'Neill. And David Good looking to get a move on Kevin O'Neill. Ron Schoen in there as well. And here's Robin Stoddart Stones making the move for 5th on Phil Shears. Stoddart Stones now up 11 places from the start of the race. Now on board with Mortimer, you can see Stoddart Stones, he's not stuck in there, he's already setting off after Mike Bell in 4th position. As that is David Good defending from Ron Schoen into the hairpin, Tom Parker coming with them, as Ben Joseph now gets a better exit than Billy Thomas. Through the kink he goes, and Ben Joseph now up into that 8th spot. And Paul Alexander pulling a move on David Waldron, passes all over the circuit, all up and down the order at the moment. Waldron definitely struggling in these conditions, as Kevin O'Neill on the attack of Adrian Helps now. In behind that's Good and Schoen side by side as well, Parker in there too, so it's a 5-way fight for 10th. 4 legends and a novice. Meanwhile the top 2 still getting closer, O'Neill closing in a little on Cleels. That's Robin Stoddart Stones and he's going to hold it! Great save, uses the pit entry to get back going. Phil Shears gets up through. Sideways Stones, proving why he has that nickname. Holds on, he's going to drop to 6th though, but he is really pushing in these conditions. Meanwhile, Anthony Cleel leads the way. Russell O'Neill right behind in 2nd. Then it's Vessier. And that's Kevin O'Neill now. That's an aggressive exit to top bend. He's going to have a look at trying to get through on Adrian Helps, to no avail. Helps covers it off. David Good having a look. So too Ron Schoen now up the inside, but to no avail. There's Cleel and O'Neill. Vessier, Bell. Phil Shears with Robin Stoddart Stones already on the attack on him again. Then Mortimer, Joseph and Thomas make up this lead 9. Through Billy's blind they go, and now into the hand hairpin. It's Anthony Cleel. Russell O'Neill on sound. Cleel's gone round! Cleel in the wall! Anthony Cleel, the race leaders in the tyres. Sylvain Vessier's going to run wide as well. So too Bell, Shears, Stoddart Stones, they're all going round. There's Mortimer and it looked like Ben Joseph as well. Now Paul Alexander, you can see everything's really fogging up in his onboard camera. Tom Parker, that is in front of us in the lime green helmet, he's going to run wide. And Alexander's going to move up the inside into the chicane. So Paul Alexander continuing his comeback drive, but everyone's been off at the hand hairpin. As here's Waldron, and he's going to go round on the exit of the chicane. So it really must be starting to rain a bit more now. You can see it falling. Through is Russell O'Neill. He's taking the lead of the race, and Phil Shears there still in the barrier. So unfortunate for Phil Shears, he's going to get a bit of a push from the marshal. Hopefully he can get back up and going. Cleel 2nd, now ahead of Bell. Billy Thomas up into 4th just by virtue of staying on the track. And then there's Vessier. Then it's Mortimer and Ben Joseph, both of who went around. Stoddart Stones gets going as well. Now there's Paul Alexander through Billy's blind. He's got Ron Schoen in his sights. Tom Parker starting to drop back, and David Good's dropped behind all of them, so Good must have had a moment. Meanwhile, lead of the race, Russell O'Neill. Is Rob Mortimer, and that was Phil Shears in front of us limping back into the pit, so Phil Shears is going to join the people not finishing this race, unfortunately. You can see with by 100 seconds left on the clock, Russell O'Neill really taking it carefully through the hairpin. David Waldron behind though, he's gone around again. Cleel goes to the right, Bell goes to the left. So Bell going to gain on Cleel a little bit there, and Waldron really struggling in these conditions still. Billy Thomas going to come up on him next, and here's a battle. It's the 2 top weights fighting for 2nd in the classes. That's Stoddart Stones running wide. Now into top bend, Cleel and Bell battling over 2nd. It's experience versus exuberance in this battle. Anthony Cleel has been winning championships in Formula Blue for long before Mike Bell even arrived on the scene. So that's an interesting dynamic there between the 2 of them. Billy Thomas going to roll it up the inside of David Waldron into Billy's blind. Sylvain Vessier trying to catch up and close the gap. Then it's Mortimer holding on to 6th place ahead of Ben Joseph, with Robin Stoddart Stones gaining from behind. Now here's Paul Alexander, he's on the tail of Ron Schoen. You can see somewhere in the mist is Ron Schoen up ahead of us. Paul Alexander through the kink and down towards Billy's blind. Gaining all the time on Ron Schoen. Kevin O'Neill ahead, and Adrian Helps starting to pull away as the conditions get a bit worse. Then there's Tom Parker and David Good still going on the lead lap. Back on board with Alexander down the inside into the hairpin. Gonna get it hooked into the camber. Ron Schoen's gonna try and come back at him around the outside, but Alexander's gonna pull ahead. Meanwhile, this is Mortimer alongside us. I think that's David Waldron. Yep, sure enough. Mortimer not quite with enough top speed to get around David Waldron this time by. But Ben Joseph's going to get around Mortimer, as is Robin Stoddart-Stone, so the three of them all now up behind David Waldron, trying to put a lap on him. Stoddart-Stone goes down the inside of Ben Joseph on the way into the chicane. And he will find great pleasure in putting the lap on his local rival, David Waldron. And Robin Stoddart-Stone's going to run wide. Ben Joseph's going to go back by, and Stoddart-Stone's uses the runoff area, but keeps it in, keeps it going. He's going to still be behind Ben Joseph though. Rob Mortimer now challenging on the outside of David Waldron. Oh, and Waldron's slid out wide. It's the only danger trying to pass him on the outside, who's struggling in these conditions. There's Joseph and Stoddart-Stone's, and then Mortimer now going up the inside. Meanwhile, last lap of the race for the race leader, Russell O'Neill. So these drivers are going to be on to their final lap of the race. It's the battle for 6th. They go round Billy's blind. Now Paul Alexander. This is the battle for 9th. Adrian Helps ahead of us. Kevin O'Neill on our left in the number 10. Through the kink they go, and around top bend is Parker Good, and then race leader Russell O'Neill coming around to take the checkered flag. He's had bum luck so far this year, but it ends now. Russell O'Neill takes the win of round 3 of the Blue Challenge. And I am sure he will be delighted with that. Anthony Cleal and Mike Bell going to follow him home on the podium. But there's still plenty of duels going on, including this one for 9th. Paul Alexander, Kevin O'Neill ahead of us, and Adrian Helps in the red suit in the number 21. They're all going to ditch hook through the horseshoe. And Paul Alexander's going to close right up to O'Neill through buttons. Only top bend to go, and he's going to move to the inside. Paul Alexander, and he gets a bit slippery on exit. But out the top bend, Adrian Helps going to hold on for 9th. They're ahead of Paul Alexander, recovering to 10th. Kevin O'Neill, well fought 11th, ahead of Ron Schoen. And then behind will be Tom Parker and David Good. They're going to get to the line as well. Wow, what a race. And it was Russell O'Neill with the fastest lap, taking the win with just under 5 seconds ahead of Anthony Cleal, with Mike Bell 3rd. Billy Thomas and Sylvain Vessier ran out the top 5 ahead of Ben Joseph. Robin Stoddart-Stone's up from 16th to 7th. Rob Mortimer finishing 8th ahead of Adrian Helps, and Paul Alexander ran out the top 10. Kevin O'Neill would be 11th ahead of Ron Schoen, Tom Parker and David Good, with David Waldron dragging his kart home a lap down. With non-finishes for Phil Shears, Nigel Vickery, Chris Underhill and Kieran Quirk. What that will do to the championship standings, Dave Watts will use his drop score but will stay in the lead ahead of Anthony Cleal, with Russell O'Neill 3rd, on tiebreak ahead of Rich Puddle, Mike Bell in 5th ahead of Billy Thomas, Sarita Schoen, Sylvain Vessier, Sam Dybel and Rob Mortimer running out the top 10. Ben Joseph will be 11th ahead of countryman Nigel Vickery, Kevin O'Neill, David Waldron and David Good rounding out the top 15 in the overall. See that Russell O'Neill's smile on his face will be as big as the smile on Mike Bell's back, as they're going to get those karts out through scrutineering, getting their engine heads checked and whatnot. In the Blue Masters standings, Russell O'Neill and Billy Thomas both even score on the day to take 1st and 2nd, with Anthony Cleal losing a point in 3rd. They're a long way ahead of the battle between Kevin O'Neill and Rob Mortimer, with David Waldron, David Good, Ben Joseph, Nigel Vickery and Paul Alexander tucked up tight behind. So it's close for the top 3, and then close from 4th back in the Blue Masters standings. The Blue Veterans standings are going to look like this. It's Anthony Cleal with a perfect score on the day to take the lead. He'll be ahead of Kevin O'Neill, with Rob Mortimer in 3rd ahead of David Waldron and David Good. Paul Alexander 6th ahead of Nigel Vickery, Ron Schoen, Phil Shears and Paul Dybel. Ahead of Chris Underhill, Adrian Helps, Stuart Gray will drop to 13th, and Robin Stoddart-Stones with John Hartshorn and Mark Cook on 15th and 16th. And in the Blue Legends subclass will be the next one up. Sure enough, here it is, and Kevin O'Neill holds the lead. Very close day in the Legends, everyone separated by only 3 points. Kevin O'Neill leads still ahead of David Good, with Ron Schoen in 3rd, Chris Underhill up to 4th, Adrian Helps in 5th ahead of Stuart Gray, and Legends winner on the day, Robin Stoddart-Stones, moves up to 7th ahead of Hartshorn and Cook. And Billy Thomas continues his perfect run in the blue top weights ahead of Rob Mortimer, Ben Joseph and Ron Schoen. And in the Boar Customer Prize Fund, it's Mike Bell that leads the way by a mere point ahead of the 2-time on the bounce champion Russell O'Neill. Sarita Schoen's going to slip to 3rd ahead of Kevin O'Neill and Billy Thomas rounding out the prize bracket ahead of Rob Mortimer, Anthony Cleal, David Good, Ron Schoen and Ben Joseph. With the top Junior Blue, Jamie Dart in 18th in the Tour Fund. And that will end the action from this weekend from Clay Pigeon. The drivers will get a nice month off, and then we will be back for the first round of the 2021 Two Counties Kart Club Championship. Back once again from Clay Pigeon, and it will also be the running of the 2020 Matt Percy Memorial Trophy, so it's a big one. We will see you then. Goodbye.